angels of God, why would he use that? You think he's going to, just do the math in your head. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So this is one of the verses in the Bible where it condemns these things. Now notice that it says, it talks about all the stuff that you're not supposed to consult with witchcraft, soothsayers, or one interprets omens, or sorcerers. But the first thing it says, there shall not be found among you anyone who makes his or her son to pass through the fire. Now, what is this in reference to? This is in reference to Moloch, or Chemosh. But in the Bible, it talks about Moloch. And what this was, it was a deity that they would sacrifice their children to. Normally infants, and normally it was for financial prosperity, things of this nature. Could you imagine? What they would do is they would heat this, it was a statue like this, and he had his hands out like this, and they would heat this stoking hot fire up, where the hands were white hot, and you would place your little baby on those hands, and the hands were slanted up like this, and there was a hole in his belly. And the baby would roll down into the stinking hole where it was just burning in there. They would sacrifice their own kids. I can't even stinking conceive of that. But see, why does it tie? The first part of this verse says, there shall not be found among you anyone who makes her son pass through the fire. And then it goes on to talk about all the witchcraft stuff. Because witchcraft will lead you ultimately, if you stay in it, if you go far enough, if you let Satan take you where he's going to ultimately take you, you will end up getting into this kind of junk. I'm not saying everybody does that, but I'm saying we're coming to a day and time where it's probably going to be. Because it was in the past, and it's probably going to be in the future. So, it's kind of interesting. This is associated with all of that. Goes on to say God warns us of these things for our own good. He offers us hope, mercy, and truth through the Word, the Bible, and the number one bestseller of all time through His Son, through the Bible, which is the number one bestseller of all time, through His Son, Jesus Christ. My prayer is that this generation will know the truth, that will set them free, and will know Him who bring them true peace. My prayer is that they will know the Lord personally and experience His infinite saving and healing power, turn to Him with all their hearts. My prayer is for revival. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on Him should not perish but have everlasting life. And again, that's John 3:16. So let's look at this a little bit further. This is another article, Harry Potter, The Witch's View, because I'm going to devote this whole session to Harry Potter today. Now, this is from a witch. She's I'll just read you. This is from the BBC, and this is from England. Real-life witch, Marissa Koldaisky. I don't think I'm pronouncing her name right. She's from Tooting, South London, was one of the first to pick up the new Harry Potter book at midnight. Here, the 27-year-old introduces herself before she reviews The Order of the Phoenix. Now, The Order of the Phoenix, I believe, is they came out with a book first, now they're coming out with a movie. You know, like they say, you read the book, now see the movie. You know, well, that's what they're doing now. So The Order of the Phoenix, I think, just debuted this weekend. She says, I've been involved in the pagan community for 7 years. Now, when you hear that word pagan, again, you're just dealing with a witch. And, you know, it's just kind of a little bit better veneer on it than calling somebody a witch. I have been involved in a pagan community for 7 years as a Thelemite. I'm not 100% sure. I think that has something to do with Aleister Crowley because he had this doctrine called Thelma. But anyway, as a Thelemite, a solitary witch. Now, a solitary witch would be a witch that was not involved in a witch coven. See, witches can do different things. They can be in big groups. They can participate in what they call witch covens, which a witch coven would be 13 witches. And then they can be a solitary witch. Now, a lot of times the reason they're solitary witches, and I've read this before, is because they can't get along. You got all these women, particularly, and they're involved in witchcraft. Women have a hard enough time getting along. Could you imagine 13 witches together? You talk about some backstabbing stuff there. Well, I'm just going to be a solitary witch because I can't handle all these other witches. I can't even imagine. Whew. So then it says, you are not a Wiccan unless you've been initiated, which I hope eventually to be in a ritual magician in practice. I am also interested in chaos magic, meaning evidently witchcraft that promotes chaos, tarot card reading, the Kabbalah. Now what the Kabbalah is, it's the highest form of Jewish witchcraft. That's what the Kabbalah is. Very, very powerful stuff. And also the Egyptian and Celtic deities. My father introduced me to the Harry Potter books not long after Book 4 came out. I am a fan for several reasons. Initially, it's the universe. The books with the largest pull have Initially, it's the universe. The books with the largest pull have this highly detailed, well thought out universe that almost seems real, and importantly, that you would want to be a part of. Hey man, if you ever watch any of these, even clips of these Harry Potter movies, if I was a kid nowadays growing up, and I know how I was let's say if I was 11, man, I would have probably bought into this stuff hook, line, and sinker. I'm talking about myself. I'm not trying to hold anybody else to a higher accountability than I'd hold myself. But I can understand how this would pull a kid in. And then it says, you're not just drawn into the story, but into that world. And then through talking about them with fans, you will fall further and further in love with the characters. I've heard of kids bringing these books home and them giving them to the parents, and the parents reading them all night. They can't put the stinking things down. Think there might be a spirit associated with these books? Just maybe. Maybe there might be a big... Knowing that that's what a lot of times witches will do. They will actually invoke spells. They will actually do things to physical objects in order to influence you, and then you bring them into your home, and it influences your home. That's why the Bible talks about not bringing any cursed objects into your house, because when you do that, it affects your whole house. It just doesn't affect that object. It affects the house, because there's a spirit attached to it. And then it says, through talking about them... Okay, so you're not just drawn into the story, but into that world. Then through talking about them with fans, you will further fall in love with the characters. You analyze them, you worry about them until they feel real. You worry about them? This is stinking in a book somewhere. You're going to worry about these characters? Well, evidently you do. And then it says, then you have, in a way, become part of the real shared universe, and it's a wonderful place to be. Now, that's from this witch. Then it says, as you've read yourself, the witches themselves are praising Harry Potter's books. See, this has been the greatest recruitment tool for witchcraft that the world has ever known. It's well known in witchcraft. They love Harry Potter and witchcraft because it's the ultimate recruitment tool. And then it has a whole link you can click into here. Read what the witches are saying themselves. I mean, this is witchcraft.org. You can't accuse me of being biased. Oh, you're just some crazy Christian over there saying this. The witches don't really feel that. Oh, okay. Go to their own site then. Read it yourself. I can send, and anybody listening to this on the internet, I can send you this article. You can click in and read it for yourself. You can see it's not my opinion. Then it goes on to say, Harry Potter, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the show Charmed, it seems we can't get enough of these things, magical or witchy, at the moment. The result of all this interest is that Wicca has become the fastest growing religion in the United Kingdom. It's probably one of the fastest ones here, too. Wicca is a nature-based spiritual path that celebrates the feminine. Oh, isn't that nice? Follows the changes of seasons of the year and is rich with magic and enchantment. See how nice it sounds? Oh, let's all run around pixie sticks and in the woods somewhere, and hug trees. Let's just let our inhibitions down. But it all spells in hocus pocus? Kate West's grounded introduction to the craft separates the Hollywood myth from the everyday reality with all the practical advice you need to know about the Wiccan way. Now, I think this book is called The Real Witch's Handbook by Kay West. So this is a handbook for witches, okay? Now, you go to Barnes & Noble's. You go to Books A Million. They've got a whole occult section now. And I mean, it's big. I went in there and just browsed, and I'm like, you got everything in there, man. You want to know how to be a witch or do anything in the occult, it's there. Then it says, there are many coffee table pretenders around, but Kate West is the real thing. Her witchcraft is about passion, not fashion. Oh, isn't that nice? She explores the myths that surround witchcraft, its festivals, beliefs, practices, and folklore. She explains the responsibilities of becoming a witch, provides plenty of magical and herbal spells you can work with, from charms to help you attract your ideal partner, to healing potions for natural beauty, to affirmations that will help you find empowerment. Witchcraft can help you become personally fulfilled as it teaches you to take control of yourself and your life. Whether you want to join a group or work alone, this is a great guide to Wicca. Now, I was up on the internet the other day, and I was watching one of those Google videos about Ron Paul or something, and I looked over to the side, and there was this thing about this love spell, and it was this Google video of this witch, and she's flat out said she was a witch, and she was taking you through how to do a love spell to attract a mate. Now, particularly, it was a woman trying to get a guy. And it had to do with this mirror, and you rubbed the mirror, and you looked in it, and you burned a candle, and you looked at, and all this just junk. You got to do this after 7 days, and all this stuff. But it was done in this real professional,